Okay, this is Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. I will start stitching. I'm sorry for being late by 5 minutes. The Japanese session was a little bit exciting, so that I went over time. So this is the live streaming in English, and I will keep doing the Sashiko stitching today as always. It is Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, right? Okay. Well, just a second, I have to make sure that I'm doing okay. So I will work on this big carton today. It's the denim fabric that I got from Japan. This is not a window curtain, but I use this as the partition to kind of block the air from the garage. So I will work on this now. Just a second. Can you hear me? Just make sure that I'm online now. There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Good morning. Okay. So I have done the... I'll show you a little bit. So I did a lot of Asanoha pattern here, and then I switched to the kind of Shippo pattern here. And my original plan is to keep moving with the circles toward this. There's a lot of straight pattern down here too. This was a project a year ago while I was doing the 24 hours of live streaming. So this is something that I should be doing for this year's 24 years of stitching live streaming, but because of the COVID I can't do that. So again, my initial idea is to keep doing this circle somewhere here, and I will. Before that, I will complete some of the other places to make it more appealing. Okay. That was a very good session in Japanese. I'm very, it has been 7 years since I left Japan. I have not been back to Japan even once. So I might be fantasizing some of the Japanese culture. I might be. Good morning from Japan. Thank you. Thank you for the continuous watching. I might be fantasizing what the Japanese is, but at the same time, it is good that I fantasize those. I love the Japanese culture. I'm Japanese, and it should be love and hate, but at the same time, I think I'm very inexperienced for that. I should probably get involved with a lot of nasty things in Japan as well to understand what Japanese culture is. But in reality, I think I'm reading too much for that. Which I'm not gonna regret it, but hello. So yeah, I think I can make this as a routine. I hope I can. It really depends on my wife's work, but I hope I can do the live streaming on every Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in Japanese for 1 hour, then switch the language to English like this at around 9 a.m. So it's my goal. Once my daughter started going back to the school, then it will be more easy to make it more. It will be easy to make it more flexible, more regular. I can't pronounce the. It took 30 minutes to switch my brain to Japanese. Now it's gonna take some time to switch my brain to English again. It's so difficult. Language is so. But as always, I welcome the questions about the Sashiko in terms of cultures or stories or histories. I do not share the technique on this live streaming because I just want to be fair with everybody who actually take my workshop. So I do not share how to do things, but I am happy to talk about some specific topic if you're interested. I have been a little bit active on Instagram, so I may talk about that if there's no request. But I am very much learning the concept of cultural appropriation and cultural appropriation from the English like Western mindset versus the Japanese perception of the culture. Those are two very interesting topics to think about. It is easy to say that a cultural appropriation is not good. But at the same time, it is very interesting to discuss about that in Japanese with the Japanese people. So, since I don't have that much opportunity to do so in Japan, I live in the US, so I cannot do that. It is very, very, very precious time to talk about it and realize how fantasized I am in Japanese culture. So good. I am here to share those things, so. Wait, I don't know. What should I talk today? This is something I probably have talked about. It's probably something I have talked about before, but there was a little discussion, ongoing discussion about it, about this topic, so I will share that. Do you consider Sashiko as the art? I will write about this topic again on Instagram, but it's quite important for me to talk about. Do you consider Sashiko as the art? And like art is like fine art, basically. I mean, we can divide the definition of art to the folk art, the other kind of art. I'm not a big, I don't understand the art very well, so I'm not gonna talk about it, but let's say fine art. Is Sashiko the fine art? It is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine for one to consider Sashiko as the art. I humbly accept your admiration. It's perfectly great. Like I'm not gonna deny yours or their understanding Sashiko as the art. Like I will, if somebody call me an artist, I will say thank you. I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna be artist. I'm not gonna fight back for that. But personally speaking, I do not consider Sashiko as the art, and I do not consider myself as the artist. It can be yet, like I don't consider myself as the artist yet, or it might not happen forever. But as of today, I do not consider myself as the artist of Sashiko. And again, it is perfectly fine for you to feel that I'm artist. After all, art is defined by the third people. Like, no matter how much I say this is art, if nobody thinks it's art, it's not art. So it goes to the same way. If you think this is art, that's fine. I'm not gonna fight it back. I'm not gonna really fight it back. I will say thank you so much, and I appreciate that as well. But I have a reason that I consider this as non-art. So I want them to respect that as well. It's not really healthy to fight back. I mean, it's not healthy to try to convince me that it is art, because I do have a reason to believe that it's not art. So some people try to not a fight back, but try to be very stubborn that it's art, regardless of what I say. It's perfectly fine. Like, if they think it's art, I have no problem with that. But again, I do have reason and stories that it's not. I consider it's not as the art. So I think in America, the appropriation is often tied to microaggressions to outright others. I'm not laughing to what you wrote. It is too big for me to talk about that. That's probably what I tried to talk about in Japanese, and I pretty much failed. In the first 30 minutes, it was very difficult for me to talk about it because of my limited understanding. I think appropriation is often tied to the microaggressions or to out. Right. Can I ask you one question? I'm sorry. So you said that I kind of understand outright othering, like to tell the others what is right or not, right? So I do understand that. I probably do not understand about racism much, but is it similar thing? Like you said, sorry, I'm really asking a question. So it is tied to microaggressions to one outright others, and you said or racism, right? So if you say or, those are somewhat related, and how does that relate? This is a pure question. I'm sorry, it's a really pure question that I feel that many people are trying to correct me for that matter. Like, if I say one thing, some people really try their best to tell me what it is and what it should be, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I lived in the US for 7 years, so I know how it works. But is that racism, kind of? That I mean, it's sometimes very annoying when people tell me what to do based on within the category of Japanese Sashiko. Why, like, how are you kind of thing. I don't want to kind of. I would like to understand how does that relate to that. So I am learning about cultural appropriation little by little. I did not know that word until May 2019. I did not even. I'm sorry, I cannot thread the needle with talking this. I did not know this word for a long time. It's very recent. It's very recent that I learned the concept of cultural appropriation. Again, last year that I just learned that. Before that, I didn't even know what it was. So I'm learning. And what was I gonna say? I am learning, and I'm very much trying to appreciate how the other people are upset on behalf of me. Othering to make someone feel not part of a group. It could racism or sexism, but othering could relate to the others. Thank you. Othering to make someone feel not part of a group. I will have to read about your comments. I probably do not get it right now. Interesting. I'll think through that. I probably still don't get that. It's not about you, it's about me. It's a very new concept. And being Japanese is kind of privileged to not to think about it. The Japanese is more homogeneous countries than the US. So there are, of course, there is the racism and also very much the Japanese privilege for that. Like in comparison, in the similar terms of the white privilege, I think there is the Japanese privilege in Japan. But because the population of the Japan, like a Japanese in the Japan, is very, very, very high, we don't really think about that often. And because it's so closed country in terms of culture and language, we don't really have the concept of cultural appropriation neither, although we do probably a lot of cultural appropriation as well. But without understanding, without being able to talk or read English, it's very much far away from the core of the topics. Well, that's why I'm kind of learning in English. So I'm not really ready to talk or discuss about the cultural appropriation. At the same time, I just don't wanna. Oh, there we go. At the same time, sometimes people write that the cultural appropriation as the colonization, which I still don't get it yet fully. So I really have to study or learn what that means. And by the process of learning, I will share more. But one thing I just wanted to tell right now is that while I'm stitching is that this Sashiko is probably an art form for some people. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine for them to call it art, or it's perfectly fine to call me an artist. But there are reasons, there are stories that I consider myself, or I consider my stitching as the non-art matter. As far as I can see, appropriation is long, loving art, music, clothing, food, but not the people. Appropriation is loving art, music, not the people. I don't think that cultural appropriation happens in the people too. I just want to see what is the cultural appropriation in Sashiko for that. I mean, I do have my statement based on my initial understanding of cultural appropriation on my blog. It is the titles, the article titled Cultural Appropriation in Sashiko, and I I stated quite good how I feel about the people calling their stitching Sashiko. Am I okay with that, or like, am I upset? I'm not upset, by the way. I believe I shared my good amount of honest feeling there. But at the same time, I get strange feeling when people use the word freedom in Sashiko, because it feels like it is free to do anything. Let me phrase it differently. The stitching culture, the stitching I'm doing right now, we call it Sashiko. However, this similar technique or similar practice existed everywhere in the world. It's not only Japan, it's everywhere. In India, this may have been called kata, slightly different mindset, slightly different culture, but the same idea of hand stitching existed every single culture in the world. So I am not saying that Sashiko is the very unique culture that Japanese invented. It happened everywhere, so I'm nowhere to declare that this is only ours. So they can do whatever they want. I mean, it's perfectly free to do anything they want. My question is though, why do they have to call it Sashiko if they don't really care? If they really don't care about the culture behind it, my question arises, like, why do they have to call it Sashiko? I mean, they can call their stitching whatever they want, but they decided to call it Sashiko. Why? That's the thing I have to kind of come up with. I mean, that's the kind of topic I want to ask all the time. And I do have the kind of my statement for that. So anybody can call. I even encourage them to call their stitching Sashiko when they try to respect Japanese culture, and that's the only thing I'm asking. But the respect can be in a very different form, and for now I'm kind of figuring out how to do that. So it's an interesting world. So freedom is great, but freedom comes with a responsibility, and I think I'm trying to advocate that responsibilities perspective. Does it make sense? I mean, I'm speaking out of nowhere, so it might not make sense. God, I'm talking a lot. It has been 30 minutes already. Well, actually I came in a little late, so it's 25 minutes or so. So yeah, it is my goal to share the unedited version of Sashiko stitching. I can see a lot of interpretation of Sashiko, and many people try to learn, which is really great. There are a lot of workshops. I even have a workshop or online class to teach what I'm doing right now. And there are a lot of people who do the same thing. But the one way, in the Japanese tradition, this kind of culture was not taught. This is not the thing or matter to be taught systematically like I do right now in the workshop. It is very inefficient, but people learn by watching for many years. Then they get it without asking the question. And some people say that's very inefficient. That's very inefficient in 2020. It is very inefficient. If there's any tips, any advice to avoid the unnecessary detour, we teachers should teach that to the students. So the traditional way of learning in Japan, by looking at it, is very inefficient. And therefore, as the answer to that, I have my online class, to make it very condensed and very efficient to complete within 3 hours or so. But at the same time, I want to leave a little bit of space for the Japanese tradition to learn by just watching it. And I think edited version of Sashiko video is good. but at the same time is looking at somebody's stitching without any editing or even like faking for that matter. I mean, I cannot fake. Like I do what I do in front of the camera. It's ongoing. It's like right now I'm stitching. So, I believe there are a lot of people who sell Sashiko supplies or who teach Sashiko who doesn't really stitch, because teaching and stitching doesn't really come well together. If like, business and stitching really is very different, two different things. It's very very challenging to do both simultaneously. If one starts selling, stitching time of stitching go very down, very small. So it's not designed to make a lot of money, Sashiko itself. So my point is that many people, no, not many people, there might be some people who just use Sashiko as the word to cash it out. That's perfectly fine. I'm not upset about it, but I just want to make sure that people can learn from watching, and I'm the one who can actually show that. Okay, I'm sorry, I kind of misunderstood that. Are you trying to say they have the freedom to stitch how they want if they have the basic knowledge? Are you trying to say that they have the freedom to stitch how they want if they have the basic? It's not about basic knowledge. It's more like basic respect to the Japanese culture. That's pretty much what I care. I really hope you can please read the article on my website, Upcycle Stitches, the cultural appropriation in Sashiko. I pretty much summarize all of my messages there. It's not about technique or design or basic. It's more like the respect. Because Sashiko is super easy. Like anybody can do that. So it's more like a respect that there is a Japanese culture, Japanese people behind the word of Sashiko. So when they use the word Sashiko, I want them to kind of respect. I mean, respect is a good word for that. If they're using the word Sashiko borrowed for their marketing term period without any respect to Japanese culture, like whatever it is, I'm just using this word because I want to, is probably a cultural appropriation by using the word Sashiko. And I was okay with that before 2019 May, because that's their freedom. But now I learned the concept and I'm not that okay. So I hope it makes sense. I was wondering, do I Sashiko over this theme? Seems or not? Depends. I sometimes do, but usually don't. First of all, traditionally we do Sashiko before finishing as the product, so there's no seam to begin with. And of course there are some opportunity to do the Sashiko on the finished product. In that case, I sometimes do and sometimes don't. It really depends on what I stitch. So there's no such a thing as like a rule or like standard of how to do it, but oops. That's another kind of misunderstanding actually about Sashiko and borrow. Many people think that Sashiko is the technique of mending the cloth. Not really. Not really. So stitching on the seam is kind of very recent movement in the Sashiko field. It's really not the main. Yes, if one considers Sashiko as the mending technique, that's a very good question. Like, what if we have the seam on it, on the way to stitch? But that question will be kind of less valid when we go back to the origin of Sashiko. I hope it makes sense. I mean, not knowing is okay. I never get upset by people not knowing. I get really agitated or frustrated when people say whatever. And unfortunately, there are many people who say that. Not a many. I'm sorry, many is a little exaggerating word. I've met some who I had to block. Minimizing. I think I'm quite open-minded for that. I'm Japanese and I'm pretty good at taking the criticism questions as a Japanese. I don't know how the Americans are not American, how the non-Japanese are educated to do so, but I think I'm pretty good at that. However, there's a boundaries. One is anybody who kind of react instead of respond. React to the moment is not gonna create any good conversation, so I try to avoid that. And second thing is the pretty much minimizing the feeling, like it's very another story, but for example, when we have not a fight, when we have a discussion or fight over the fight, I am usually very serious. I don't really make jokes when we talk about cultural stuff, or I love jokes, but that's not the time to make joke. So I'm usually very serious, and when somebody when somebody minimize what I feel, then I get. That's probably the over the line, which include kind of like, are you in a bad mood or something like that? That's really not okay. Oops. Because the mood doesn't really matter. It's just the contents, and that's minimizing the feeling. So those are two boundaries I have. Everything else is kind of okay. I mean, I'm here to learn as well, so everything else is good. Okay, has been 40 minutes, 30 minutes. I will go off again. I hope my stitching was somewhat good. I've been talking a lot. Sorry, I probably didn't switch my brain from Japanese to English really well today, but I believe I kept stitching. And I hope you I hope you watch this live streaming while you enjoy Sashiko stitching as well. I want to make this kind of like a community or space to stitch together instead of me talking or getting upset or getting happy or excited about something. This is the time, over the world, I want this to be the time to stitch together, and like me talking is like a radio or like audiobooks. Of course, the comments is very, very, very appreciated, but at the same time, it's kind of secondary. I want to stitch more, and it's kind of good to have the scheduled time to stitch as well. So I hope I can see you next week, next Friday as well. I don't know if I can come back, but I will announce it on the Instagram if I can come back or not. In the future, this is my goal, to make it more ritual, more routine work, not a work, routine things, especially after my daughter started going to the school. Like after the school reopens, I think it's much easier to make it more regularly. So it's my goal. I used to do that every twice a week. So that's the thank you so much for the comment. I hope I hope I was not talking something uncomfortable for you, but I'll bring something happy. Today was not the best time for me to be happy. I will finish after this much stitching and I will show you the other side. Well, you probably know already, but traditionally we stitch from the back side of the fabric. So I will show you the front side and then I will complete this live streaming. No, it's not about you, it's about me. You work clear, I just have to learn more. Again, English is my second language, so it doesn't really... I'm slow. And I don't want to make a stupid statement, that's another thing. Like, I can probably react to the comments, but that can be very... I wouldn't say stupid, that could be pretty shallow or inconsiderate because of my English capacity. I don't want that to happen. I just, this is the live. If it's the writing, I can rewrite it, I can proofread it, but this is the live. Everything I say is gonna go to the public, so I am very extra careful to react or to respond to the comments. So when I don't know it, I say I don't know it. Let me have time for that. But I will try to think, I will try to read and think and then swallow it, and then I'll make a reply to that. So it's not about comments being unclear or not. It's pretty much about me. Okay, I will share this just a second. So this is again it's like a Japanese denim fabric that I got from Japan. It's a really nice fabric. Love it. We have a small house, but the garage is really connected to the basement, like half basement. It's viable house, but the garage door is very much connected to the basement where my kind of office is. So over the winter it's super cold. The cold air from the garage comes into that area. So I use this thick fabric as sort of a curtain slash partition to block the carry door, not a carry door, like block the space. And this is super, like my hand is this, right? My hand size is this, and this is about, I don't know how big it is, but this is the front side. So I was working on here. Yeah, this is not good. I have to fix this one. Just a second. Okay, I'll fix this one later. So this one was the part I was working. I'm doubling this line right now, and then this one, like pretty much everything else is what I did last year. And there's a little blank space here that I'm still wondering what to do. So let's see what I can do. It's gonna be a long. Well, everything else here is about 24 hours, 30 hours I guess. I did it in a live streaming of 24 hours, so well, it's probably more than that. I keep doing that after that. Anyway, so it's gonna be about, I'm estimating about 100 to 200 hours of working here to complete one. And it's gonna be a one very sturdy, like very durable fabric for the purpose of blocking the air from the outside. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week, Friday around this time, I hope. Have a good weekend, and bye bye. ありがとうございました。おやすみなさい。バイバイ。